Time now for The Clash. And after the devastating discovery of Nicola Bulley's body yesterday, her sister Louise Cunningham has paid tribute to the mother of two, posting a yellow heart on social media while urging people to spread the love for Nikki. In a statement released yesterday, the family said, "We love you, always have and always will. We'll take it from here." But regrettably, the memory of Nicola has been sullied, I believe, by the Lancashire Police's disgusting disclosure of her problems with alcohol and the menopause, revealed just hours after Detective Superintendent Rebecca Smith said she wouldn't invade Nicola's privacy. So rather than finding the missing mum, I think the police, near the end of the investigation, only cared about covering their own backside following a whole host of criticisms about the way they dealt with the case. This prompted Petronella Wyatt to write in the Daily Telegraph that the police have lost the faith of the middle classes and ruined their public image forever. What do you think? Do you feel the way that the Lancashire Police has dealt with the Nicola Bulley case has made you lose the faith in our forces altogether? Let me know your thoughts by emailing dan@gbnews.uk. You can vote in our poll at GBNews. The results coming up shortly, but first, I'm joined by the writer of that aforementioned column, Petronella Wyatt, former leader of UKIP, Henry Bolton. He's, of course, a law and order activist, and the women's rights campaigner, Patsy Stevenson, who was famously arrested at Sarah Everard's vigil in 2021, prompting a whole host of criticism of the police there. So, Petronella Wyatt, I mean, this was a very powerful column today, but it's quite a significant thing to say that the middle classes have lost the faith in all police in the UK based on one case. But do you feel that this has been coming a long time?
Yes, I do. It's not one case. I can give you examples of several cases, but let's go back to Sarah Everard. The way that the women who attended a peaceful vigil were treated was absolutely appalling. We know also from the Wayne Couzens case that the police have a problem with women, especially sort of middle-class women. And in France, for example, the French middle class are instinctively suspicious of the police. They call them les flics, and they treat them with utmost caution. In this country, we've indulged in a kind of nostalgic love affair with the police. It's very much, in some ways, or was kind of Dixon of Dock Green. And when I grew up, I adored my local constable.
Yeah, and we trusted them.
Absolutely.
And we thought they had our best interests.
Exactly, but I no longer think this because I also wrote about my experience with the police when I had a mother with dementia.
This is very shocking, what happened to you.
Who didn't know what she was doing or saying and who was subject to morbid paranoia, which is a dementia symptom. And she rang the police and she accused me of trying to kill her. The police arrived and instead of being sensitive, they treated me with the utmost brutality. They wouldn't listen to me. I wasn't even allowed to kind of answer back. I was told not to answer back. I was dragged out of the house in handcuffs, placed in a holding cell for 6 hours and tormented and abused. I'm somebody who is middle class, law-abiding, and this shocked me to my core, and I've never felt the same about the police since.
So your police in the faith your faith in the police has
yeah,
been
and
well
also, I mean, the thing with going very briefly back to Nicola Bulley, I think it was totally gratuitous, unnecessary, and distasteful to release that personal information.
Well, indeed. And Henry Bolton, look, I know you're a great defender of the police, and actually, I'm usually with you. And on the Nicola Bulley case, I need to be very clear because the media has been criticised too. I did not utter Nicola Bulley's name in public or on this show until last Thursday.
Really?
And the reason that I decided I didn't want to join the circus. I think the police need to do their job. But you know, when my opinion changed, when the Lancashire Police released that highly personal information about her suffering from menopause and having issues with alcohol, because, Henry, do not tell me the police would have done the same thing if it was a man. There's no way the police would have released a statement saying, this older man has gone missing, he's suffering from issues with erectile dysfunction and is drinking a lot. They would not have done that. And so at that point, to me, this became an issue of police competence.
Yes and no. And, I agree with a lot of what Petronella said about the general concern that...
But you think we're treating the Lancashire police...
Well, in this particular case, I think, somebody said the other day, I can't remember who it was, that we need to learn the lessons as to how we speculate about such cases. And I tell you what the lesson is, don't speculate. And one of the problems here, and I don't know it's the case, and this is going to probably be the subject of an investigation by the Independent Police Complaints Authority, I'd imagine, but the police should be able to get on with their job. When the media, some media outlets have been clearly interfering with it, on the ground, speaking to potential witnesses, going through the ground themselves, attacking the police, contacting the family, despite police and family requests not to. Now, then the police have got a problem, haven't they? And they've announced in a press conference that Nicola Bulley had some vulnerabilities.
Yeah, but they...
That's straight. No, wait, let me finish.
Sorry.
And thank you. And therein lies the problem. Because if the media have, and I don't know whether they have, certain people been contacting the family, harassing the family, neighbours, and so on, then just to let me finish, it's not a different issue if the police, and we don't know, in consultation with the family, have decided to try and close down all of that intrusion.
But Patsy Stevenson, let me bring Patsy in. Patsy Stevenson, it wasn't with the family's agreement, though. The police changed their mind within a couple of hours, and I believe it's because the Lancashire police were like, oh, goodness me, this press conference hasn't stopped all of the criticism of us. So it almost became victim-blaming of Nicola Bulley.
It did, and the thing is that as much as you can blame the media, the police fed the media that information, and therefore they ran with it, and so many headlines came out saying that, oh, was she a fit mother and all. Just the absolute misogyny of these headlines. And yet again, we've got other cases where, that poor head teacher was murdered by her husband, and all the headlines said, oh, it's because she overshadowed him with her success, excusing his behaviour. So when a man is in the media...
It's the police that released the information about Nicola Bulley.
But the police are not media experts. They're detectives, they're law enforcement people.
Exactly,
but the point is that they are flooded, they're inundated.
This was a PR disaster.
It was a PR disaster, but they are not a PR... It's not the job of
themselves against the media.
But they're required to. And they're also required to try to protect the public, and particularly victims and people around the victims and witnesses from that intrusion. And what I'm saying here...
What they released about Nicola...
You're not letting me... You don't know why they released that. I don't know why they released that.
Well,
we're making assumptions by your judgment. Now, the police should rightly...
the police... The family...
the Home Secretary has said that there were...
And she is partly unconvinced, were her words. Now, I think there are questions to answer here. I think the police should be reviewing, as they do in every major case, they review every step. They basically go through it again. They look at what went well and what went badly, and they review all that, and they try to learn the lessons from it. I don't know what the basis is, but I just... But this, if I can just say, Dan, this is against a backdrop that Petronella quite rightly described at the beginning of this discussion, whereby the public themselves and the media are all too ready, for some good reason, to criticise policing. And policing is not what it should be in that sense.
I think that's a bit unfair in this case, because I've given my example and I had absolutely no intention of criticising the police. I thought it was important that the investigation was allowed to play out. But the way that they handled, and there were times when it really felt like the Lancashire police were getting off on the attention. They tweeted a reply to someone who'd made a Lego miniature of Detective Smith. It was just bizarre.
Yeah, I'd not heard about that, so that is baffling. But I think, from someone who does criticise the police a lot, I actually was one of those people that I didn't think they would not necessarily not do something wrong, but, when it comes down to a missing person or something really severe, bit that, in my belief, we kind of have to rely on the police for, which I wish we didn't have to rely on just the police force. That's just my personal opinion because of my view of the police. This is one of those instances where I was like, well, OK, they have to just get on with their job and I hope they do it well. And they didn't do it well, unfortunately.
I think the police should not be tweeting. They should not be out doing all these, the dancing and everything they do. This has undermined the whole thing. The ethos of policing as a profession to serve the public, to protect life and property, has and be credible in doing it, to be protective, but yet...
Well, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. But that
disagree.
has been undermined, and the Petronella's point, I guess, is that has been undermined.
And the tweeting and the Lego models is part of that problem.
Yeah, no, indeed. OK, fascinating discussion. Daily Telegraph columnist Petronella Wyatt, women's rights advocate Patsy Stevenson, and the former leader of the UK Independence Party, Henry Bolton. Thank you so much. But who do you agree with here? Has the Nicola Bulley case made you lose faith in the police? John on Twitter says, after a series of mistakes by the police, I lost faith a long time ago. Penny says, I lost faith in the police when they started dancing at pride parades and questioning people for wrong thing, very similar to what Henry was just saying. And from Kit on Twitter, I still have faith in the police. They are not the problem. It's the social media detectives treating crimes as if they can be solved easily with conspiracies. And your verdict is now on. This is fascinating. Probably our closest poll in a long time. 53% of you say the Nicola Bulley case has made you lose faith in the police. 47% say you still believe in them.